have to be honest, I thought this game was going to be a lot more straightforward than it felt like after Leicester took that 6-minute lead here at Anfield. But then you get to the end of the game and you look back at the numbers and have a real think about what we saw tonight, and the reality is that Liverpool did absolutely dominate this game. I mean, I'll show you some numbers here. 69% possession to 31%, 1.83 on the expected goals to 0.33 for Leicester, 19 shots to 4, and 7 shots on target to Leicester, just 1 shot on target, and yet they score from it in the 6th minute, as I said. And after that, really, Liverpool were dominant and fully deserved to win this game. And as I say, although it may have felt uncomfortable in certain moments, the fact is that this was probably a pretty good Liverpool performance in terms of completely putting the foot on Leicester's neck, not giving them any breathing space, and coming out fairly comfortable winners in the end. And that despite conceding from Leicester's only shot on target, which, by the way, can just happen from time to time. You can get a little bit unlucky with those moments. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this performance wasn't entirely without concerns, and I would say that Arne Slot probably wasn't happy with what was happening in that first half. I thought they were poor for large parts of that, and the reason was really that they weren't being incisive in their attacking play. That's something he won't have liked. Obviously, they got to half-time, they'd already put 33 crosses into Leicester's box, which were being defended quite easily as well, and the fact is, that is more than any game so far under Arne Slot. 33, and it was only half-time at that point. So it just shows you that that was how they were trying to target Leicester from open play in the early stages of the game, and it clearly wasn't working. They were kind of enjoying defending their 6-yard box. They were getting in front. They were heading balls away, and just find it really easy to limit Liverpool's threat when they were attacking in that way. But what I really liked, and the best thing about the performance really, was the fact that, again, Slot gets them in at half-time, and obviously they just had the boost of getting the Cody Gakpo goal, so they're feeling better about themselves. That always helps. A brilliant finish, by the way. But Slot gets them in and tells them how to hurt Leicester and says, look, you're doing it wrong, we can do more. We've been dominant in certain aspects of the game, but it's all about finding ways to score goals. And the way that they did, and you could clearly see this, that Slot had told them is, okay, don't be looking for every opportunity to allow Trent to sling it in the box or Andy Robertson from the other side. What you try and do is make triangles so you can get cutbacks, so you can get players who, you know, have got attacking quality into the byline and get them in those areas rather than just those deep crosses which Liverpool was so reliant on in the early stages of the game. And you could see from the very first whistle of the second half basically that it was working, that Slot's advice was absolutely spot on, because there's a move that ends in Gravenberch cutting back for Núñez and unfortunately blasts his finish over the bar, but it was the most incisive football really that Liverpool had played in the game up to that point, and they scored from a kind of similar moment really straight after that, where Jones taps in from Allister, putting it across the box. And again, the difference is, you know, not the high crosses from deep that Leicester were really enjoying getting in physical battles to defend. It was more about making those triangles so you can cut the ball back, or you can put a low one across the box that is really, really difficult to defend. And so it proved, and that is how Liverpool got themselves in front. And of course, from 2-1 up, then never really in doubt. As I said, Leicester didn't carry much threat at all from that point. Liverpool themselves looked threatening, although they couldn't quite get the goal until towards the end through Mo Salah, but it was fully deserved when it came. And I'm sure, you know, Arne Slot will come away from this one and he will have moments to criticise and areas they want to work on with the players. He acknowledges this isn't quite perfect under him yet. There are things to work on, and the fact is, you know, that attacking performance in the first half, the fact Liverpool have only got 1 clean sheet in the last 6 games as well, these are areas to improve. But you have got to factor in that, you know, sometimes a team is going to come up with a plan that makes it difficult to defend. You know, they defend well against you in moments, which Leicester did. And also with the clean sheet thing, you know, Liverpool, I don't think they've been fantastic defensive recently, but I also think luck is going against them sometimes. I mean, if you give up 1 shot on target in the game and it ends up going in the back of the net and 0.33 expected goals, and yet you concede a goal, sometimes that's just a little bit unlucky. And so, you know, I think these are areas that Slot will want to work on. But I also probably think after a kind of pretty comfortable 3-1 win at home there, and if you take the stakes out of it, we probably will realise just how comfortable that win was. Then, you know, we probably shouldn't focus too much on the negatives, and I'm sure the manager will probably have more good things to say about the performance, as well as sort of those areas that he'll want to work on. And the fact is, of course, that Liverpool, you know, they can't be playing too badly at the moment, can they? Because they're 7 points clear at the top of the league, and they capitalised on that Chelsea slip-up and also put even more pressure on Arsenal to keep winning games. So not a bad night's work all in all, you have to say. Now we'll focus on a few individual performances, and the place I want to start is with Cody Gakpo. I thought even in that first half where Liverpool were struggling to attack in the right way, I still thought he was Liverpool's main threat. I think he puts a cross in for Salah after about 30 seconds that almost results in a goal, and he deserves his goal by the time it comes. It's a trademark finish really, but he takes it really well, and like I said, I thought his dribbling, he really was threatening down that side throughout the game, and particularly in that first half when not everyone was playing particularly well. Obviously, he misses out on a second goal in the second half through a marginal offside decision in the build-up, but his performance overall was very, very good. 3 shots, 2 chances created, gets a goal, gets an assist as well, wins 7 out of 9 ground duels, which shows you that when he was getting involved in 1v1s going either way, he was generally winning them. So really, really good performance from him. And he's also, of course, now on 8 goals in his last 12 games for Liverpool, and a couple of months ago you kind of thought that Luis Diaz absolutely had it nailed down, that he was the starting left winger in this team, but really Cody Gakpo is giving the manager something to think about. I mean, it's great to have those options when you need to rotate, particularly through busy periods like around Christmas. But when it gets to kind of periods where Liverpool have 1 game a week, or the biggest games, so to speak, I'm sure Gakpo's really pushing for starts in those, isn't he? Because you just cannot argue with those numbers, and his performance in general I thought was excellent today. So as I said, kind of a welcome selection headache for the manager to deal with. And just a couple of other individual performances I want to talk about. I really liked what Alexis McAllister did today. Don't think it always went for him, but he obviously comes off the pitch with 2 assists, 1 for Cody Gakpo, so maybe that's pushing it a little bit. But I liked his general performance in terms of using the ball, always being available, trying to get things going, always trying to be there and affect things in the final third against that deep Leicester block. And he also wins 8 out of 16 duels. To even compete in 16 duels shows you how much work he got through in that central midfield area. And he didn't win them all, but he won about 50%, which is not a bad ratio. Just a real hard-working performance that I like from him. And as I say, leaves the pitch with 2 assists as well. So like that about it. And of course, I have to speak about Mo Salah now. Again, not his game where you'd say he was absolutely all over it and totally dominant in this one, but of course he ends it by getting a goal that wraps up the points, and that's now 16 goals and 11 assists in the Premier League so far this season. These are ridiculous numbers. We're not close to the halfway point just yet, and he's put up 16 goals and 11 assists. I mean, if he continues at this rate, what kind of numbers is he going to put up? Can he get that Thierry Henry 20 goals and 20 assists in a season record? The form he's in at the moment, you wouldn't back against him, because again, that was an absolutely brilliant finish and in a key time of the game as well, because if Leicester had a chance going into that lengthy injury time at the end of the game, you never know, a little bounce of the ball could go against you and you can concede a goal there and give up some points. And obviously Salah completely puts it to bed by just passing it into that far corner. Brilliant finish, and as I say, those numbers are out of this world. We have to get this contract sorted, don't we? Now, there's a couple of negatives I do want to kind of talk about, unfortunately, around the performance. As I say, don't want to focus on them too much because Liverpool are in a fantastic position and they also performed overall pretty well today. But I thought, again, around the goal, you have to say that Andy Robertson is in and around it, turning the wrong way to let Ayew spin. Unlucky in the moment that, again, that gets a little deflection, that shot. It's their only shot on target and it ends up in the back of the net. But he's turning the wrong way. It's not a good look, and I think at the moment he just seems to be at the scene of the crime far too often. Even if sometimes you think he's being unfortunate, I just thought it's another goal that you could kind of put near him. You think of Brendan Johnson beating him to a header against Spurs for Solanke to score. You think of the red card he got recently against Fulham. You think against the penalties he gives away against Southampton and Real Madrid. He's just on the scene too often when things are going wrong for Liverpool defensively, and so that is just a little bit of a concern about him. Obviously, I've been a big kind of supporter of him in that I think if you can play him once a week, I still think we can see the best of him, and yet Slot seems to be kind of driving him into the ground a little bit at the moment. I just think he needs a rest, and maybe we see Tsimikas coming back in now because he's fit again. I think and hope that can really help Robertson out, because I thought, again, not a terrible performance by any means today, but I didn't like that he was near a goal that was conceded again, and that is happening far too often. And I also say there's a rare negative here as well. I want to talk about Ryan Gravenberch. I just thought he looked a little bit leggy today, wasn't quite at his best, and Liverpool still totally dominant really in that midfield area, but Ryan Gravenberch winning 2 out of 8 duels, that is very unusual for him. And again, one thing I kind of want to flag about him is that he's on course to play more minutes than he ever has in a season, and he's being used an awful lot by the manager at the moment. Now, for obvious reasons, in that his form has been fantastic, but you just worry about the legs and whether that's going to have an effect on him, and you don't want to see a dip at the back end of the season. Would this have been a good game maybe to bring Endo in for? I'm not so sure. Still, can Liverpool do anything in January to give Gravenberch help and bolster that midfield area? We'll have to see, but for me, just one to keep an eye on, because that was one of his poorer performances this season. We don't want to be seeing that coming in as he gets a bit of fatigue in the legs and a bit tiredness, so hopefully it was just a one-off and he can get straight back onto it for the next game. But as I say, don't want to focus too much on the negatives, because there are so many positives at the moment. Again, another win, a win in fairly comfortable circumstances, 7 points clear, which is absolutely crazy. I don't think anybody expected Liverpool to be in this position on Boxing Day, did they? Particularly with the new manager coming in. And so it's obviously on to West Ham next, which very much looking forward to. Another chance for Liverpool to keep putting the foot down and keep extending that lead in the title race, given that the sides around them seemingly cannot string wins together. So really important to go there and win. And as ever, I'm going to wrap up by asking if you can like this video. Really appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. I'll have, of course, coverage of the build up to West Ham and then the game itself coming up. So I'll see you guys very, very soon.